Alright, well, the channel mostly does Game of Thrones and GRRM, and I know some other channels stick to just Game of Thrones TV or Game of Thrones the books, but we try to cast a wider net a little bit with GRRM and more related productions. So here we're going to be covering Skin Trade. For those who don't know, this is a very short story he did in the 1980s, but he sold the rights in 2009 to a movie production company called Mike the Pike. And now George wants the rights back. So on the surface, I think you know where I'm going to go with this, because I love George. We've been documenting, I think now, 20 videos? How much D&D screwed him over, and how generally speaking, Hollywood and George don't get along, at least for the most part. And more broadly speaking, Hollywood and, frankly, the capitalist system is not good for the writer. And the writer, 95% of the times, gets screwed over. Their rights are destroyed. They don't get paid anything. Blah, 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 blah. But I don't think that's what's happening here. Okay, now, let me be upfront. I do like him as a writer, especially as a horror writer. Think Fever Dream, and I'm going to call it Fever Dream. I know other people say it's Fever Dream. It's Fever Dream. We can call it Febra. I think Febra is his real masterpiece. It's incredible work. It's a vampire novel. Skin Trade is a werewolf story, and I'm a big fan of werewolf stories. I really like werewolf movies and werewolf stories. Werewolves scared the living daylights out of me. So it's interesting. I should be on his side here. Skin Trade, I only kind of skimmed. It's okay. I zipped through it. I don't think it's anything special. It's just a werewolf and a detective team up, and they do stuff. I'm making it sound a lot worse than it is, but it didn't strike me as anything special. It's got the usual George Martin flavor, but I didn't think it's one of his best things. So what happened? Well, he makes the deal in 2009, and they promise within a certain timeline, right? That's the contract, that they're going to get it out into production. And on his blog, he does announce with Cinemax, apparently it was going to happen. So everything seems to be going well, but ultimately we know Skin Trade does not get made. Now, I want to emphasize, he does retain the rights in other areas. Apparently he still has the right to make it into a comic book, into a book, into a stories, etc., etc. So it's really the movie rights and only the movie rights that are in question in this case. So, given the record of Hollywood and the writer, and even in particular George's own relationship to Game of Thrones, you'd think I'd say, and he's not getting any younger. He's now 71, and I don't think this is a money issue. I don't think he wants the rights back just to sell it back, just to make more money. I don't think it's the money issue, right? I don't think genuinely that's what's going on. I think he really just wants the rights back. Obviously, he's going to sell it to a production company, but I don't think it's money. But I think we want to be careful and look at the timeline. Game of Thrones began, again, this is the TV side. TV show began in 2011. Now, that's when it appeared, but it was clearly made the year before. And they had to make the deal, a little time before that. So presumably around the same time, 2009, 2010, George made his deal with HBO. And with HBO, presumably he got paid up front and got paid quite a lot of money. Now, obviously with Skin Trade, given it's a much smaller piece, he probably didn't get the best deal possible. This is 2009. He's a best-selling author. He's George R.R. Martin, and his name carries weight, but he's not a super brand name, a la Stephen King. So did he get the best deal possible in 2009? Probably not. But at that point, it's a fact, he's a multimillionaire, right? Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire is a best-selling series. It's number one on the New York Times list. Not there for very long, but so he's making a little bit of money from the books. So he probably got a pretty good deal, but not the best deal possible. And yes, given his history with producers, frankly, taking his work and destroying it, I should sympathize. But I'm going to be honest here. I think this is a little bit mid-range. Has George gone Hollywood? That's the real question. And I think we can't avoid it and say, yes, he's gone a little Hollywood. I mean, he worked in Hollywood for a couple years. So I think this is a case where George, He's now in a different place. He has a lot more money. He has a lot more fame. His name carries a lot more weight. He's a lot more popular. So I think he's misrepresenting the facts just a little. If this is all the information we have, there's no evidence that Mike the Pike deliberately didn't want to make it. Maybe they did pull something fast and just trying to cobble together a production just to keep the rights, but in terms of the legal contract, I don't see anywhere here where they actually didn't hold up during the bargain. Presumably, he signed the contract, he got paid, and there we are. And I want to be fully honest on both sides. In some cases, George has sold off the rights to some of his stories and/or novels, and it's over. Right? He no longer has a legal case. They now have full ownership of a GRRM product. He's done. He really can't get into court and fight them over it. He can, but he would probably lose. So, to be honest, on both sides, he seems to be exploiting a bit of a loophole here where yeah, they did try to make the movie, but they didn't do it ultimately, so give it back. So I should be on George's side, but I do think he's kind of misrepresenting what happened just to get the rights back, and I understand that. I mean, again, a super powerful lawyer does not come cheap, so I get it. In terms of the numbers game, he has enough money to go to court easily and probably win, but I don't think legally he's in the wrong. All right, I don't think he was screwed over. I don't think he should be seeking damages. I mean, again, we have to remember he is insanely wealthy now, but he's not Stephen King. He's not Taylor Swift. I don't want to misrepresent him. He's not a super fat, evil, greedy, capitalist pig. But I do suspect there's a bit of little finger strategy going on here, and I get it. He's getting older. He just wants the right back. He did write it. It's his. He's the creator. And I'm all for creator rights. You know, corporation or capitalism versus the creator. The creator should come first most of the time. I think that should be our default position. But I don't know in this case. I think it's, apples and oranges. With HBO and D&D, yeah, he definitely got screwed. It doesn't matter that he got paid a lot of money. It doesn't matter he got really wealthy. He got screwed. But here, I think it's George who's taking the aggressive posture. Could be wrong, but I think it's George who's a little bit in the wrong. I understand that, but I think he's kind of misrepresenting things just to get skin trade back. All right, this has been GRRM and Thrones Analyzed on selling out one story, Double Entendre. If you like the content, please hit the like button and/or below. Please comment and share the content. Please follow me on Twitter. Thank you for listening. Please be safe.